Patriot populists are surging in Canada, uniting the Conservative Party like never before, and the Liberals are beginning to panic. How much? They're openly talking about dumping the soy boy himself, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. We're going to see precisely how Trudeau has fallen from Liberal grace, and make sure to stick with me at the very end of this video when we'll see how a populist wave is taking over Canada and promises to change the political order for generations to come. You are not going to want to miss this. Reports have recently been coming out saying the quiet part out loud. Even his fellow Liberals are starting to have second thoughts about Justin Trudeau. He's increasingly being seen as a liability that could cost them dearly in the next election. The numbers don't lie. Trudeau's approval ratings have been tanking. According to Morning Consult polling, Trudeau is barely clinging on to a 40% approval. 53% of Canadians disapprove of his tenure in office. The only good news is that Biden is even more unpopular. So rest assured, Trudeau has nevertheless escaped the fate of being the most unpopular leader in North America. But if a senile old man who can't even dress himself is your only point of respite, well, things obviously are not good. Even the left-wing Guardian featured a piece just days ago noticing the profoundly dramatic decline that's marked Trudeau's tenure. And the key to his fall is, of course, his incessant wokeness. Trudeau's political strategy as the leader of Canada's Liberal Party, his strategy has been to pivot way left on cultural issues to siphon off voters from the more far-left New Democratic Party, the NDP, while still maintaining a relatively free market economic approach to appease big businesses. But as Eric Kaufman of the University of London, who's himself Canadian, as Kaufman has pointed out recently in an excellent article, this radical pivot to the woke left is in effect tearing Canada apart. Kaufman points to a horrific fraud that was perpetuated on the Canadian people by the mainstream media several months back. I don't know if you were following this, but a class photo surfaced from a Canadian residential school for Indigenous children. It was from the 1940s, and they're posing with their white teacher or headmaster who's wearing a Catholic priest collar. And a rumor began spreading throughout Canada that every one of these Indigenous children were shot and killed due to overcrowding at the school, and then were buried in unmarked graves. And the mainstream media ran away with the story. And true to form of being fake news, as it turned out, the entire story was one big fat lie. It was a hoax. The unmarked graves, as they were called, were not those of murder victims. Analysis of the remains showed that the children died mostly the same causes as non-Indigenous children at the time. Things like influenza, tuberculosis. And the graves weren't secret. There was already a landmark government commission that devoted an entire volume of reports to the graves back in 2015. The whole outrage over these supposed Indigenous murdered victims by these supremacist colonists was a hoax. But it didn't matter. The damage was already done. Damage intentionally perpetuated by the Canadian media. And as a result, over 30 Catholic churches throughout Canada were burned by woke mobs. Do you know how Trudeau responded to that? The Trudeau administration called the mass arson, the mass burning of churches throughout Canada, quote, understandable. And what Kaufman notes here by highlighting this ridiculous moment in woke Canadian history is he shows how Trudeau not only did nothing to stop it, but even worse, he seemed to appease it. And Kaufman notes that what this is doing is it's ultimately alienating at least half the population of Canadians who don't understand and can't even possibly conceive of relating to this kind of reaction by both Trudeau and the woke Canadian media. And so what Trudeau's wokeness is doing is it's provoking a massive backlash. And that is where we're seeing Canadian populist revolt rising like never before. But first, you've got to click on that link below and head on over to my special website for the Ready Project food supply. No one makes preparing for an emergency more ridiculously easy and affordable than our good friends over at Ready Project Food Supply. Their food kits last up to 25 years in storage. They include breakfast, lunches, and dinners. And if you act right now, you're going to save 25% off a full 4-week emergency supply when you click on that link below to my special website. So whatever you do, do not wait. Click on that link below and start building your emergency food supply today. All right, so the worldwide populist revolt has officially come to Canada. We've seen it with the triumph of Pierre Poilievre in winning the leadership position for the Conservatives several weeks back. Poilievre is a very seasoned and savvy politician who's widely recognized as a mainstream politician who's enthusiastically embraced the rising populist movement, awakening all throughout the world. Poilievre was a huge supporter of Canada's Freedom Convoy. He's actually come out and said that he would ban anyone in his administration from having any ties with the WEF, the World Economic Forum, the demons in Davos. He's incredibly well-spoken. He's polished. He's young. And he is single-handedly transforming Canada's Conservative Party more in the direction of Maxime Bernier's Populist People's Party. It's basically becoming Canada's own version of the MAGA party, the Patriot Party, but it'd be McCuma Party. And Poilievre's amazing style of what we might call parliamentary populism is really taking the Tories by storm. And what that means is that we appear to be seeing a new alliance, an alliance that was a long time coming between Quebec nationalist populists and the wider national populist movement in Canada. Populism tends to be very regional and provincial in Canada. That's one of the things that makes Canadian populism so unique. And so thus far, Quebec nationalist populists have actually tended to resist joining forces with the Tories, the Conservatives, under what we might call more rhino leadership, the neocon leadership they've had in the past. But now with the populists take over the Tories, all bets are off. And that's exactly what pundits are writing about. Poilievre's massive support in Quebec that just saw another landslide victory, by the way, for the Nationalist Populist Party, the Coalition Avenir Québec. That support looks like it's the game changer for Canadian national politics. We're already seeing it in the polls. Under Poilievre's uniting leadership now, the Conservatives have opened up a 7-point lead over the Liberals. If they can get that to a double-digit lead, I think the days of Trudeau will be coming to an end, and we won't even have to wait for the next election to see him finally fall. As always, make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. You will definitely want to check out my latest video on Liz Cheney getting humiliated as the J6 committee just got canceled. You're going to absolutely love it. So make sure to click on that link, and I'll see you over there. God bless.